DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. Founded by the first family of Florida State Coffee and based in Pensacola, Florida, DeLuna Coffee is the driving passion of the Lemmix family. Ed, his wife Courtney, and their son Brett. Their tailgating spot out front of the Unconquered statue is their own slice of paradise. But the real delight is DeLuna's blend of Kona, Maui, Kenya, Colombian, and Brazilian beans that they call their liquid gold brew. In fact, they called it Paradise. Try it or one of their 24 blends and get a discount when you use the promo code WARCHANT15. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant. It is fueled by DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Promo code WARCHANT15. Come on out Saturday, 2 p.m., Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Appalachia Parkway, Tallahassee, Florida, 2 p.m. Again, we'll be giving out some goodies to the folks who show up. I think the first 50 subscribers might get a little extra. And Corey Clark, Ed Lemmix, the patriarch, the man behind the man, is going to be bringing some Warchant DeLuna bundles to possibly give away. Well, he said he's going to do it. It's not a possible thing. He's going to be giving them away. I don't know how we're going to do it, if we're going to raffle them off, if they're going to have to arm wrestle you. But come on out. We'll be giving away some DeLuna, so that's going to be good.
We should ask trivia questions.
Okay. All right.
Like, but not like Florida State trivia questions, like show trivia questions.
Okay. All right.
I don't know, something about your personal life, but I couldn't figure out what it would be. Like,
Right.
what's your, something about a dating app or something?
Well, what's Corey's ex-wife's name?
That's an easy one. Yeah. That's an easy one. Might as well ask him what my name is. I talk about Shanna more than I talk about myself. So we can figure out a couple of giveaways like that for sure. And I think there's going to be a couple hundred T-shirts we're giving out at that thing. I think the first 200 get a T-shirt at Corner Pocket, and then on Friday we're doing the thing at Horizons for Seminole Headlines /Warchant, and we'll have some giveaways there as well. So be out there, 5:30 at Horizons on Friday, 2 o'clock on Saturday at Corner Pocket.
Warchant.com, Ultimate Seminole Sports Source. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Hit the thumbs up button on there. That thing is just shooting through the moon. Everybody seems to be – it's a feeding frenzy right now of all the content that's up on our YouTube page. Headlines was live yesterday. We will be live today, 6 p.m., Corey and I. Michael Langston recruiting chat went live. Check out the replay of that. We'll be back out at practice on Wednesday. Myself, Austin, Ira, I'll probably be a little bit late arriving. A little bit of a late Tuesday night trying to get some work and stuff done. Corey's back at his palatial estate in Greater Atlanta, so it's here.
This is the house that Pereira built. Just kidding, Ray. No, I don't see any of that money. It all goes to better causes than myself, but we really do appreciate it, buddy. And I hope is Ray going to be out there? Do we know?
Yes,
is Ray going to be
Ray's
in Tallahassee?
confirmed he'll be out there. James
Okay, good.
B's confirmed he'll be there. Eric Angel, pretty sure Mark. In Naples, I'll have to check out the VIP list. I think the pillar thing is really happening, though. There's going to be some sort of masonry stone pillar that's going to be signed by the pillars.
That's exciting.
Oh, man, what a time to be alive. What are we, Giorgio Newberry days away?
Is that right? So
Jordan Wilson days away?
I would say Jesse Hester. I'm going to kick it old school. Or Peter Tom Willis even. Okay. Man, 4 is a cool number. I was thinking about that the other day when we were at practice, like a wide receiver wearing number 4. I'm all about it. I just think it's a cool number. It's a cool look. I don't know. In the NFL, you can't, right? You can't wear a single digit if you're a receiver in the NFL, or can you?
I thought they did something where they let you.
Yeah, but 4 is awesome. 4 is one of the cooler numbers on it. And Newberry pulled it off. Sure, Newberry looked good at it. Dalvin was pretty good at number 4. There's been some good 4s in Florida State history.
It's funny, Parchment's Twitter handle, I think, is AP Quattro, but he wears 7. So I guess, arm wrestling probably between he and Jordan Wilson wasn't going to work out in his favor. So
right, yeah, exactly right.
Kind of has some of the angular attributes of the 4 with the 7. So We did speak to Mike Norvell, the head football coach of your Florida State Seminoles, on Tuesday, as well as Kenny Dillingham, Adam Fuller, and John Papuchas. Those are all of your coordinators. Corey was there, transcribing like a madman. I don't want to keep talking about this, but I feel like we kind of have to mention it. I was getting into the lull of tranquility and compliance, and then I'm like, I got to snap out of it. It's funny. Somebody can post something on the board, Corey, and just kind of have a crazy idea request. Hey, man, you guys should juggle between phone calls on the live show. And we'll have a meeting, and we'll bring it up like, hey, we saw somebody say they'd like to see you guys juggle during the live show. Can one of you guys juggle? And it's like, are we really talking about this right now? Well, like, you folks, your voices on the Warchant Tribal Council, it is heard by everybody, and we try to really literally do anything you ask us to do. It's almost
I can't
bizarre.
Juggle. You can't. Can you juggle?
Either. No,
Yeah.
I can't. No, I can do impersonations, though. That's what I can do.
Right.
But then if somebody's like, hey, are you guys going to ask about the quarterback situation? No, of course you won't. Then we'll be like, hey, whoa, listen. Then we have this whole explanation to our subscribers like, hey, listen, we're doing our jobs. Get off of our backs. And it's like, I think that's a fair question. That's a fair request almost. And then we're all in this room. And listen, we're all on the beat together, all the different websites, the different newspapers. And yeah, man, we've been lulled into this whole thing. We're like, hey, he doesn't want to talk about the quarterback. We're not going to push him about the quarterback. And I'm there too. Like I've surrendered. And then I see people posting this stuff. I'm like, well, they're right. Like we're in this cocoon. We are in this bubble where. And listen, there's a good amount of fans too. I think they're like, listen, I get it. He doesn't want to give up any sort of edge in this game. I'm cool with it. But there's certain people that are like, are you guys doing your jobs or what? But I mean, nobody forcefully came out and asked. I'll ask him Friday or Thursday. Thursday's the last time we get to speak to him. I'll ask him Thursday, hey, are you ready to name a starting quarterback yet? I think he might tell us then, and if he doesn't, then whatever.
Well, then if he doesn't, he's not going to. That's his last chance, right, to talk to us. And look, man, I think in that situation, and you didn't ask, hey, who's the starting quarterback? You asked strategic questions about both guys, which is the right tack to take to show people that you're asking about quarterbacks.
Right.
Nothing that was said was all that interesting, but we knew that going in. What's funny to me is if you did say give away something but by asking a question that Norvell clearly doesn't want you to ask, are asking it in a way that gives something away. A lot of the people that are like, you guys aren't doing your job, you got to let us know what's going on in the quarterback. If it was then explained to those people, well, you just gave Notre Dame a pretty big advantage by showing our hand. Those people would be mad at us for asking. Why'd you ask that, Aslan? Right. Why'd you give that away?
Don't you want us to win? I thought you went to school here.
Yeah, are you rooting against Florida State? Yeah. Are you out to help Notre Dame? Like look, man, it just you guys have listened to this. Hopefully you guys, hey, if you're out at Corner Pocket on Saturday, loose lips, baby. Loose lips. But yeah, as for being in front of a microphone talking about this team, I think if you've listened to this show, I make this point, and I'll continue to make this point. You know the deal. You know what's going on. You know who's probably going to get the majority of the reps on Sunday. So there you go. But it's not going to be official. Nobody's going to make that official until the head coach makes it official.
Right. The one thing that did stick out to me a little bit, and again, I hate but this is what we have to do when we have to talk about this. You know, I don't have to, but when we do a show centrally focused on one thing, and that's Florida State, and usually Florida State football, like everything is under the microscope, and we don't have to scrutinize it, but what else are we going to talk about, right? We're going to talk about people's ex-wives and my lack of having a wife. So here we are. But he mentioned the emotion that this team plays with and how it's a good thing sometimes, and he likes the fact that they play with it, but then at other times it can maybe get away from you and be a problem. Again, I think there's sometimes he kind of humors us a little bit, like he's giving us an answer that he kind of maybe thinks we want to kind of hear, not like in a bad guy or trying to lie to us or anything, but sometimes it's like, whoa, like when we transcribe this out, Mike, it's going to read different, I think, than what you're trying to convey. And I remember somebody asked that on Renegade Express earlier in the week. We'll get to the rest of some of those in this show. But he kind of did mention that this is a team that does play with emotion. He likes it, but they do need to sort of rein it in. And when he said that, I'm like, well, I mean, let's not tip things off too much here. I never got the sense of that. I mean, I don't really think they play all that on tilt to start with, so I kind of don't see it there, and I certainly don't see it being a problem for them. And the amount of practice you've watched this offseason, Corey, do you think this is like a mentally immature, or they don't know how to maybe handle themselves at times? Are there volatile moments in a football game you think that you're kind of nervous they might do something that's going to put them 15 yards behind the chains or give a first down to the other team? I don't. I haven't seen it.
Do you think that stems from that one or the couple of practices where he was upset with all the skirmishes and maybe a little too much talking, and that's what he's talking about with being emotional?
When we were in the end zone and that receiver caught that touchdown and then like spiked the ball and flexed and looked at us, he ran over and yelled at him. But was it like, yeah, baby, like way to do it, like great play, because it was a good catch? Or was he yelling at him like, why are you celebrating a touchdown right now?
No, I didn't get the impression that. Well, I don't know. I thought it was a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe that's part of it too. Is none of these guys know how to handle success. None of the guys that are on this the guys that have been on this roster for years have never proven that they can rebound from failure or disappointment. So, I mean, I guess you could say that you could worry about their emotions, like say Notre Dame gets up by 2 scores, or conversely, it's a much better problem, but how does Florida State act when it's up 2 scores? All these things that I just think it's stuff you experience. I don't think emotion will be nearly the problem that, say, linebacker depth will be. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's a much bigger concern. I think he was just answering the question about it being a full it being an atmosphere unlike a lot of these guys have ever played in. Andrew Parchment, even, he's played a lot of football. He's never been in a game like this where people actually cared about the team he was on, and played in a game where a lot of people were watching. It's Kansas football, man, and he's one of the veterans. Like, most of these guys haven't played in an environment like they're going to have on Sunday night, and they all went through what they went through last year with the stadium being virtually empty. So it's going to be it will be interesting to see how they handle that aspect of it. But other than that, I don't know that I'm worried too much about emotion. You want them to be emotional. You don't want them to wear themselves out before the game even starts, but you want them to be emotional, man, and play with some passion.
Another thing that was, I think, probably encouraging for folks, and I know we don't talk about it a lot on the show because people don't really want to hear about it, but the whole COVID situation that's still ongoing in our nation. But he did say that over 90% of the team has started the process, so they've, at least 90% of the team either is fully vaccinated or has received one shot.
Or scheduled one.
Scheduled. Okay.
Or told a coach, I'm thinking about doing it.
Okay. Right.
It's worded in such a vague way that I don't know how much you can really glean from it. If you wanted to take it as probably how it's intended, don't you think that means probably over 90% have gotten one shot?
That's what I took from it.
Yeah, that when you start the process, I think that's what he meant. It'd have been cool if he'd have just said that. We have over 90% that have gotten at least one shot instead of started the process of getting vaccinated, because that could be anything. Like, yep, I made my mind up. I'm going to do it first day of October.
Right.
I trust me, coach. So, but I think that's what he meant. So yeah, that's good news. And look, this isn't a COVID show, but just from a competitive standpoint, man, Alabama's, I think, at 100%, right?
That's the rumor. Yeah, Ole Miss is at 100%. There's some.
Yeah, I mean, it's just from an advantage, competitive standpoint. You don't want to go to a game against Wake Forest and be told that your starting quarterback isn't available because he's got COVID or he's a close contact.
Cam Newton.
Yeah, right. So I think that's even if you don't, for whatever reason, don't care about the illness itself, you certainly want your full roster of players to be available. So that's why that's important.
Kenny Dillingham, Corey. Is it just that I don't know a lot about football? I try to pretend I do, but I really like listening to him talk. And I feel like he's a really sharp guy. And it's almost the converse, and I hate to put it this way because it's a backhanded compliment. I don't intend to be a backhanded compliment, but it kind of manifests my anxiety about this season still with this defense. But I think Kenny can explain ball to his players, and they can pick it up at a much better sort of – they can conceptualize and put it into action probably a little bit better than what we've seen from the defense. I'm hoping that Adam Fuller and the defensive staff has figured out a way to kind of, I don't want to say simplify, but at least communicate their principles in a way that's more easily digested and processed by these guys. But man, listening to Kenny talk about football, it's like, okay, this is all right. I feel part of it's like, hey, I want, like, you're taking me into the chapter house of the fraternity and showing me like what really happens almost. He's pretty illuminating when he talks about ball. I feel like we're in pretty good hands on that side of things.
Yeah, I would encourage everyone to go watch his press conference from Tuesday on our YouTube channel or on the website. We have him on there too, right, on the website.
Yes,
so yeah, do that as well. But either way, yeah, man, he's interesting to listen to. He does do a really nice job of breaking it down and kind of explaining like things that maybe. There were a couple things he talked about on Tuesday that hadn't really, it had occurred to me before, but he articulated it in a way I hadn't really thought of much before. And one of those was like, last year this time they were learning verbiage.
Words.
They were learning what plays were called, what these plays were called, so they knew what to run and he goes, now they know why we run the plays. They all know the verbiage. Now they want to know. Now they know why we run the plays and why they're supposed to work. He also talked about. I thought it was interesting. He said they have 8 or 9 guys they feel pretty good with on the offensive line.
Yep.
I don't know, it might be a little high with 9, but he did say 8. He said 8 initially, and then he added 1. I don't know who he was thinking of to make it 9, but he corrected himself and said 9. But he talked about how it might have been your question. I don't remember about the offensive line and how it's not necessarily the most skilled right guard is going to play. The guy that plays that position the best, like just straight up man-to-man, I can block you better, I'm a little quicker, I'm a little stronger. It's the guy that plays the best with the other 4 guys. So he's looking more at it as a collective, as just, okay, I'm going to put my best left tackle here, my best left guard here, center, right guard, right tackle, and that's what we're going to play. Because then maybe Atkins tells him, look, man, that right guard might be better, but he can't make the adjustment that he needs to make in the split second. He can't do it, and he does not communicate with anybody on the line. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to play a guy that might not be the best guard, but he communicates better with the other 5. And that's a big deal. And he talked about how offensive line is the most reactionary position in football. Because literally he's like one guy, if he moves 6 inches to his left, that triggers the right guard, okay, now I got to get the backer.
Yeah.
If he moves 6 inches to his left, it's like, okay, now I got to go do the double team. And you're all doing that, you're doing that instantaneously. That's how much you're got to do. And he said that, that just comes with reps. And he goes, and he said reps are one thing in practice, but the game speed reps are where you obviously make the biggest strides, is all those game speed reps. And everybody on that offensive line, whoever is playing, has a bunch of game speed reps. So that's good. And when he was talking about that, didn't it kind of occur to you, not occur to you, but it dawned on me like, all right, well, I know Notre Dame's offensive line is clearly more skilled and talented than Florida State's, but not many of those guys have played together. And maybe there could be some communication issues the first time they're playing together in a hostile environment. You hope a really loud crowd and maybe some pressurized situations that maybe they don't communicate like they should because they haven't played together as a collective unit yet.
That's Notre Dame. They're all smart. You got to be smart to get into that school.
Fair. Good point.
But I mean, that's something to definitely think about and is encouraging if the crowd can make an impact felt early on in the game. He did say, this whole thing that I kind of fell in love with what he talked about last year about, you either have to be explosive or efficient.
Right.
And he says that they're both. Like he said, they've gotten more explosive and they got a little bit more efficient. So the best of both worlds. I don't know. Do you believe that? I do think they're explosive. I don't know. Although I don't know. Now that I think about it, man, it's hard to say efficient because when they do go into these like 6-7 yard passing plays, it looks like there might be a little more time on the clock than they really are going to get into a game situation when it's like a 7-on-7 or 11-on-11 situation. But there are times where you would see the quarterback check down and get rid of the ball and not just throw it away. So that's pretty encouraging. But they have been able to scheme things up to where they've got guys running open downfield. So I'll take the explosiveness over the efficiency any day of the week. But is there anything that you think this offense has become more? Do you think they are more explosive or more efficient since last season? I guess we'll obviously know, but in terms of what you've seen out of practice, Corey.
Yeah, I don't know if you could say efficient. Like, I don't know if that's something we could determine from watching practice. I think you can determine explosiveness and explosive ability. And, yeah, I do think, again, Helton is a big difference. It's a different guy. I don't know if he's going to have a bunch of 80-yard touchdowns, but he's going to have some big plays in the middle of the field. He's going to have some he's going to be a tough cover for anybody trying to cover him out of the slot. I think Pokey and Parchment are both speed guys that can make plays downfield and have made plays downfield in their career. So you like that. And then, yeah, man, I think when you factor in Toa Feely and our man Trayshawn Ward, I think that's some explosive ability. Plus, if Jordan Travis is starting, think about his legs and what they are. I do think there's they didn't have, other than Jordan Travis runs in a couple of catches by Terry, it doesn't feel like they had an enormous amount of explosive plays last year. And that's what they pride themselves on. And by the way, I think Dillingham said that you either have to be efficient or explosive. You can be both. Alabama was both last year. That was one of the best in college football history. But you know what I mean? You don't have to choose one or the other. I think that, I think last year if they were going to score a touchdown, it was going to be on the back of 13 more often than not. Now I think they can do it a couple of different ways. I think the receivers will help being better. And then I think the running game, I think the running backs are going to be better and faster. And Trayshawn Ward might be the real deal, man. He might be an actually impact player, but they have more speed and more, I think, big play ability. Even with the loss of Terry, because that wasn't, we didn't get 2019 Tamarian Terry. You know what I mean? Like that dude was incredibly explosive. The guy last year wasn't anything like that at all. So I think they do have a chance to be more explosive. They should be more explosive.
I'm trying to find the what day it was, but I can't find it. But this kind of goes to the point where quarterback went, I'm pretty sure he went incomplete, maybe TFL'd, or sacked. It was sack. And then on 3rd and long, hit Malik McClain for a touchdown. So,
yeah.
That was the cool thing where it's like, all right, this was an offense that we saw, third and obvious passing situation did not end well for this offense last season. But we saw some of those situations in practice manifest itself and then able to convert. So I found that quite encouraging. I
would think, though, going back to the efficient versus explosive, I think in this game, obviously you're going to take points any way you can get them. If they're 5 80-yard touchdowns, you'll take them even if they're one play. But trying to keep that Notre Dame offense off the field, you got to, and Dillingham talked about it, you've got to be able to limit the negative plays. Florida State isn't going to get a lot of first downs if they lose yardage on one of the plays. This isn't 93 Florida State. This isn't 2020 Alabama. They can't overcome 2nd and 14 or 3rd and 11. This offense isn't really built like that. And I know it's a cliche, but stay ahead of the chains, man. Or just don't get behind the chains. Like Dillingham said, like 2nd and 10 is so much better than 2nd and 13. So just limit the negative plays. You can't have the false starts. And he said, every offense in the country is going to false start. He goes, we've been limiting those, though, in practice. They have been. He seemed to be pretty happy with how they've been handling the false starts or lack thereof. He's been encouraged by that. So, but yeah, mainly just get your offense in third and 3. You can live at 3rd and 3, especially if one of those guys is the quarterback and has that running threat. 3rd and 3 is where you can live all night long and you'll feel pretty darn good about it. 3rd and 8,
I also we're spending time here trying to stall and find the stat broadcast from last year for Notre Dame to see how many chunk plays Florida State had, but it apparently doesn't exist, Corey. Can't find it.
Oh, sorry, bud.
Can't find it. Sorry about it. Defensively, Adam Fuller talked about the wall of defense they're going to have to create early on, and I don't know. For Florida State to have a shot in this game, they are going to have to start off strong, and I know you can say it for any game, but I think it's especially important.
Yeah.
This time around, because I do think they're going to have to hold on. I mean, they can come and play from behind and eke out a win. I'm not saying that can't happen, but I just think the way I see Notre Dame probably winning this game is that they're just able to maybe hit a few more plays deep, play action sort of passes because that run game I think is going to be pretty successful. And then you're going to have to respect it probably too much. And then, Jack Cohn doesn't have to be Jameis Winston, but Jack Cohn can, throw somebody wide open a touchdown off a play action.
Well, and also think about who you're playing at safety. Like Akeem Dent by October might be an awesome safety, might be really good. No. He's never started at safety before. Brendan Gant, a lot to prove. You don't feel those safeties, they're going to try to trick those safeties, fool them with their eyes, get their eyes in the wrong spot. They're going to try to take aim at those safeties in the pass game. They're not going to pass a ton, you wouldn't think. But yeah, play action is where you really hope the safety can diagnose it quickly. Again, Akeem Dent is going to be, if he keeps playing and starting at free safety, is going to be so much better in October than he will be on Sunday night. But maybe he's going to be awesome on Sunday night too. Who knows?
Yeah. And I just a little bit apprehensive that the front four can hold up over 60 minutes if they're getting, just bludgeoned with the run game. But I don't know. Is that something that we're panicking too much about? That we're ringing the alarm on too much? The fact that we really like five of the guys they have, and everybody else is kind of young and unproven, and that's not a good formula. Or can you, I don't know, in 2021 when it's maybe a shootout early on in the season, can you get by with five guys that you trust?
I mean, it depends on what the offense does, right? If they're out there 85 plays against Notre Dame, Notre Dame by the fourth quarter is just going to be, they're going to be able to tell you where they're going to run it. And that defensive line, if those guys are getting the majority of the reps, will be exhausted. That's how football works. I think, I don't think they're just going to go through there with five. I think they're going to try to want to play 6 or 8.
I know, but don't. I mean, but five you can count. You maybe you give Jermaine Johnson a break, but you keep the other 3 guys out there. Like Keir Thomas and Jermaine Johnson are never off the field at the same time.
Right.
You kind of rotate it so they can. You'll always have 2 or 3 experienced guys on the defensive line. But yeah, man, you can't have these guys playing 80 snaps, especially against Notre Dame. So you're gonna have to get some of the young guys at least a few reps here or there. And look, if you go into this game like, all right, here goes nothing, hope they win, and it doesn't happen, but it's because the defensive line just gets tired. Yeah. Or you just don't match up with them well. I think we talked about that on Headlines on Tuesday. Like, I think you can not live with it. We don't believe in moral victories, but you can, if you watch the game and they are coached well, they are in the right place, they just couldn't tackle the kid. You know what I mean? That happens. As I brought up, it wasn't like Brent Venables told all those Clemson linebackers, hey, tackle Dalvin Cook. What's the matter with you? Like, Dalvin Cook made all those guys look like fools. And Clemson was really good. One of those teams was a national championship team. So sometimes those players are better than your players, and you can put them in the right spot. The problem we had with Notre Dame last year, that game, is it didn't look like there was anybody in any spot. It wasn't just that they were getting mauled. It was like it didn't look like they knew what to do. So if you got guys in the right position and your defensive tackle just gets bulldozed, or your linebacker gets bulldozed, or just doesn't make the tackle because Notre Dame's running back is exceptional, then, it's disappointing, sure, but you can live with that more than one of those touchdowns last year where there was literally, they just ran an off-tackle play, it seemed like, and there was nobody on the screen with them the whole time. So that, I feel like if you go into the game, if it comes down to that, Florida State's going to lose. If they have to play their whole defensive line, 70 reps, 75 plays, they're probably going to lose that game, and that doesn't do you a whole lot of good for the future anyway. So that, I don't even know what I'm saying. I think you can take. You want them to be a lot more competitive up front than they were last year, and we have no reason to think they won't be. I think they will be more competitive. How could they not be?
I guess that's a cool thing. We'll probably know early on. I mean, against North Carolina, I don't know if any of us expected the upset going into the game, but I think once they made that play with Josh Kando making the pick 6, you're like, whoa, like, okay, they came to play tonight. I think we'll know that early on. That's a cool thing. Maybe if Notre Dame rips off a 6-play, 75-yard drive where 50 of it comes on the ground, it's going to be buckle up. And if they don't, and they get a 3-and-out or something like that, it's going to be like, okay, I think that will kind of help shine light on what the season's going to look like, at least defensively. So
yeah, I wonder. It'll be interesting, that show on Tuesday that we do, or the show on Monday that we do next week, about like how much are we gonna how much stock are we gonna put into the opener? Right. How many eggs are we gonna put in that basket as far as judgments about the rest of the season? Like, I really do think, unless it's just an absolute blowout, I really do think we'll have many more judgments to make after Winston-Salem. You know, I just do. I think that's when we start dissecting what this season can be. This Notre Dame one is like, it's a season opener. They're weird anyway. You got so many new guys. I'm not making excuses. They need to look better, clearly. But no matter what happens, it is just one game, and it's the first game. That third game, the third and fourth game, is when you start to be like, okay, there's no reason for hope here this season, or I like what I'm seeing. I'm liking the way this thing is trending.
And then on the back end of things, isn't it kind of weird? I don't know if you, now that I think about it, that when you ask them about young guys playing and the likelihood that some of these freshmen are going to contribute, maybe not on Sunday, but at least in the early part of the season, he agreed with your assessment of the players you named. Kevin Noles said that's a guy that's going to play. Shaheem Brown, obviously. But like the back end's supposed to be deep. But obviously, I guess just because you're playing further away from the ball, it's more likely that you can get on the field and make an impact than having a true freshman come in and make their presence felt on the interior of the defensive line, for instance. Because, I mean, they need the help on the front seven more so than on the back end, we feel like. But their most high-end, upside players are the guys that are in the secondary. But that's a good thing, though. I mean, Knowles and Shaheem have shown out, and he thinks they'll be ready. So...
Yeah, and so he did say, when I asked him, I'm like, who do you think will play? Fuller, we're talking about. I think that was the only question I asked. Thought it was got a good answer out of it. Interesting answer. He asked him which of the freshmen does he foresee playing on Sunday, and which does he foresee playing this season, at least the early part of the season. He said, Kevin Knowles right away. Kevin Knowles will play. He's going to play Sunday night. He's a part of the deal. Kevin Knowles will be on the field. Shaheem Brown, I don't get the impression they figure him to play much on defense. I'm sure he'll be a special teams guy, but he did say that every +1 rep they get in practice goes to Shaheem Brown. They are racing to get him ready. It's just a true freshman at that position. It's a lot to ask at safety. There's a lot of stuff going on with a safety. And I think he's only played it for 2 years. This is only his second year playing safety, right?
Is that Shaheem?
Yeah, I think that's what he said when we talked to him. He played corner.
Yeah, he played
until
everything for them.
Until his senior year.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. So it would be. I don't foresee Shaheem Brown playing a ton on Sunday night. I think he will be playing quite a bit in the back end by the end of the season. And then he also, he did mention Patrick Payton and
George Wilson,
I think and Farmer. And Farmer is a guy that I've heard from other people. That's a guy they think might help them this year. For sure, but will definitely be a part of their plans moving forward. Like, I get, they're all part of the plans, but you know what I mean? Like, they think they might have struck gold with him. Like, he might be the real deal. So they really like what they've seen out of him. So Farmer could be a guy that, again, you might see later in the year playing a lot more than he will on Sunday night.
All right, let's take 2 quarterback-related questions from the Renegade Express.
All right, let's do it.
Do a live show on Wednesday, and then we'll sprinkle in the rest of these on Friday. Maybe we'll do some over-unders, maybe give away some Zaxby's again. See how that goes, not sure. Let's start with the easy one first. JCC 1213. It's my mom's birthday, by the way, 1213.
Nice.
Yeah. Let's go! Guys, with the game approaching, my anxiety is growing. Please help me here. This is all you, Corey. Richard, we should phone a friend, get Ira here. What indicators have you seen from Jordan Travis that should he play, that unlike last year, he will not start hot and go cold like he tended to do last year? Also, what level of confidence or chemistry would you give the quarterbacks with the receiving core? Thanks. Go Noles.
How do we do levels? Like 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 or like orange levels, red levels, like back in the
confidence
Iraq War
chemistry
days?
Yeah, right. Threat level, the TSA.
Yeah, threat level orange.
Yeah.
Jordan Travis is just better than he was last year.
How? Come on, expound, please. I don't want to put you on I don't want to put Corey in the corner, but Corey's in the corner.
So again, we didn't get to watch him in practice, so it's hard to compare watching him in practice to watching him in a game. But he seems a little bit calmer in the pocket, seems a little bit quicker with the trigger, but he knows where people are going to be. And I keep coming back to that play. I think I talked about it with you. It might have been on the live show last week where Norvell did that fist pump.
Yes.
After the throw he made on it when they were doing third down drills, and he just threw it to a spot with almost blind because there was a defender in front of him. Just threw it to a spot, and Ja'Kai Douglas made a nice catch for a first down. And Norvell's reaction was like, "Yeah, man, that's the kind of stuff that good quarterbacks do. You can't just throw to guys that are wide open all the time, or even guys that you see. You throw to a spot where they're supposed to be." Look, he still misses throws, especially near the sideline. You got to work on that a little bit. I guess if you're going to miss, you'd rather miss out of bounds than in bounds where the cornerback or safety intercepts it. But those can be tricky. But he played 5 games last year and didn't practice the whole season. Like, he might have had legitimately, Aslan, 3 weeks of practice?
Yeah. I mean,
from
Norvell
August 1st to December?
Yeah.
3 weeks of practice. Like, he was banged up and they wouldn't let him practice during the week. He's gotten a full off season, a spring practice, and now a full August to practice. So he knows the offense better, and that does matter. Again, I don't think he's the quarterback right now. He's a sophomore, by the way, still. Isn't that crazy? He could be here till 2023.
And he's on his 4th coach? We had Petrino. No, 3rd coach. Petrino, Willie.
Taggart, Norvell, yeah.
Odell, if you want to go real technical. Interim coach.
Sure, right. Well, there you go, right. But, no, I think he's never going to remind you of Drew Brees, probably, with some accuracy stuff. But he gets the offense better. That's all I can say. He gets the offense better. He's got to be able to avoid negative plays, and he's got to stay healthy. When Jordan Travis is healthy and not facing 3rd and 12, he's a dynamic offensive player. He just is. When he's facing 3rd and 12, like many quarterbacks, it's a struggle. And I don't know. It's hard to know if he's taken that next step, but because we have to see it in the game. Right. He's converted 3rd downs in practice, but you just have to see it in the game. The people around him are better. They just are. Now, how he does if he plays on Sunday night, he needs to stay healthy is the biggest thing. Because I trust that if Jordan Travis is healthy and starting, he's going to put up points and touchdowns and a lot of yards, one way or the other. Notre Dame's a tough defense. You can't judge this kid as a quarterback in his 6th career game by what he does in a season opener against Notre Dame necessarily, but, basically you can't write him off. Last year against Georgia Tech, we could write that starting quarterback off, right? Like, he was horrendous, and you're like, that's done. We're done with this. With Jordan Travis, not so much. He's got some stuff in him, and you just get better with experience.
I almost feel weird saying this. Like, did any defense stop him last year, or was it always injury? Like, I mean, like, did Louisville, right? I mean, Louisville.
Yeah, but he seemed like he was banged up in that one. Yeah. And Helton had a horrible drop in that game. They would have at least scored 21 points in that first half. But yeah, I think just the injury, he just wasn't himself. He got re-injured or something. I would say maybe Pitt before he got hurt. Like, even though he had the 90-yard touchdown run, and I think he had some other big plays, once they got the 2-3, I think they scored 17 pretty early on. Pitt kind of figured it out a little bit, and they stopped him. But that was the only one. Like, literally, I mean, North Carolina didn't stop them. They got down to they scored 31, 24 because Kendo had a pick 6. But they got down to the 1. That should have been another touchdown. They missed 2 field goals, one that should have put the game away. Yeah, man, he did well when he was healthy. He's really, really tough to defend.
They were up 14-3 at one point in the first quarter against Pitt after that 88-yard touchdown run. And then he finished that game 11 of 18 with a pick for 106, 14 carries, 123 on the ground. 88 of it came on 1, though.
Yeah, I was going to. So after that, so after that, he was like 13 for 35. Yeah. Now, I'm sure some of those were sacks. But, yeah, and that's another thing, man.
He lost exhausting. 40. He gained 123. He lost 40. He netted 83 that day. 40, golly, man.
Yeah, so he had one 88-yard run, and the next were 12 for -6. So it just gets exhausting, man. If you can't, and Pitt had a really good defensive line. If you can't block it up, that quarterback's he's going to be exhausted, and he ended up getting hurt and not being able to play the rest of the game. So, it's just know that if it's Jordan Travis, especially at quarterback, you're watching a guy that I know he's been around a while, where we know his name. It's his sixth game. It's his sixth game. Christian Ponder was struggling until his 13th game. So give him time, right? Give him time to learn, to grow, to experience certain things. And you hope that the passing game gets like a little more crisp as far as like he can make throws. If Pokey's running free across the middle of the field, he can hit him. I mean, it's not like he's going to airmail him about 30 yards every down. It's more about just getting it out on time. It's just getting out on time, having that rhythm. I think that's stuff you just got to work with and hope it comes.
Like I said that about Ponder, but I mean, isn't part of it though the fact that like the options, like, and if Jordan does struggle, if he were to start and he were to struggle, it's like, well, then you have McKenzie Milton kind of waiting in the wing, so it's a little bit different.
That helps. Yeah, that definitely helps, and that's something that we'll I'm sure we'll talk about a lot as the season goes on. About it might be matchups, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so this game, in my opinion, this game, because of what Notre Dame has up front and because you have some question marks on the offensive line, to me, it makes more sense for Jordan Travis to get more of the reps because he is a mobile quarterback that changes how they defend. You can't just pin your ears back and say we're going after 13 because he can get loose for a 25 or 30-yard gain, which is that's like a pass play, a big one. So he changes the way they defend maybe. And it's not like Milton's a statue. It's just he's not Jordan Travis. But in another team that maybe plays more of a zone defense, it has a three-man front. It gives a lot of, you know what I mean? Like maybe or they give up stuff in the middle of the field, or they're more apt to be picked apart in the air. Maybe maybe it really varies from week to week depending on the matchup.
What I will say on that, just kind of shortly, briefly, I do think he's more confident in his ability and maybe his comfortability with the offense. I do think he didn't manufacture it. I think it was a real thing to maybe be a little bit disrespected or put a chip on your shoulder by the fact that he did bring Milton in. And I think he's actually managed that kind of well mentally, it seems like at least. We'll see, though, Sunday if things go wrong for them and if he'll kind of revert. I mean, he's not a James, I hate to pick on James, but obviously when things went wrong for James, it was hard to pull that plane out from the nosedive. For this team not being able to handle adversity well, I mean, Jordan wasn't a guy that's really, the second half meltdown against North Carolina offensively, he was the quarterback in that too. So I am curious to see, because I do believe he's got confidence in his ability, confidence in what they want him to do, confidence in his ability to execute that. And I'm sure, again, man, I bet you they'll probably score on their first drive. Like they'll probably,
All right.
But then what's going to happen second quarter? And Kenny said that to me, like, at the media kickoff and just about like, second quarter, that's when everybody starts making adjustments. And he wasn't saying this specifically about Travis. This was me asking him just this random off the wall question about, chess match and matchups and letting guys play enough to get a feel for things. He's like, second quarter, that's when you know what's going to happen. He's like, that's when adjustments start being made. So I'm curious to see how that happens when they do hit adversity, because they're not going to score touchdowns on every drive. Curious to see what happens once that does happen, how he's able to respond to it. Last one on the way out, random_John. This is going to be some. I hope you brought your dancing shoes. I hope you watched Catherine Zeta-Jones in whatever movie that was recently, when she's like trying to avoid all the lasers. This has got all those lasers we have to avoid.
Man, you said recently. That was that Sean Connery movie, right?
I hope you've seen it recently, so you remember.
Oh,
what I
I got you. Gotcha.
My bad.
By the way, don't you love Hollywood? Like in that movie, Catherine Zeta-Jones, for my money, might be the most beautiful woman that's ever been.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know when that came out. It's that what is the name of that movie? They're in the high rise in Malaysia, I think, or somewhere. But they're in the tallest building in the world, and she is incredible, unbelievable,
striking. Yes.
I would guess she's 32, early 30s. Her love interest is old ass Sean Connery. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what? Come on, man. He's like 68. Like, he was James Bond 30 years prior. And he's still rolling with Catherine Zeta-Jones.
What's your problem, clock? You got a problem with me, clock? I can't do it.
It would be awesome if you could.
I couldn't do it, Connery. All right, here we go. Good morning, Aslan Corey, our witty and wise writers of Warchant. Plural, really. Singular writer of Warchant. Corey writes, I don't. What do you feel is the actual plan with quarterbacks this year since they brought in Milton? I almost want to kind of spin that another way. It sounds to me like you guys have Milton squarely pegged as second string at best. Lately, shows have presented how much better Travis has become and a whole lot of silence on Milton. Also, with how you all say Purdy and Tate have been nicely coming along, did we need to bring in a fourth quarterback? At what point do we reach the saturation point of having too many quarterbacks? So let me spin it this way then. I know it's not your question, Randoms_John, but, I got to avoid these lasers that you've kind of put out there. I still think the plan was to make it was he was going to come here, he's going to be on the mend. He was going to pick things up well in the spring and probably have a little bit of an edge coming out of spring, and then it was going to be full steam ahead. But Jordan Travis played better than him in the spring because McKenzie Milton, quite honestly, did not play well during the spring practices. He played well in the spring game. That's what kind of buoyed our hopes going into the offseason. I don't think it was the ancillary thing where, listen, if this doesn't work out, if he's maybe not ready to go, at least we have him around our quarterbacks. He can show these guys what it takes to be a winner. That was part of the calculus for sure, but I don't think he came here to be a camp counselor. This isn't the Manning Passing Academy. He didn't come here to hold a clipboard and to show Jordan Travis how to play quarterback. So I do think the plan was for him to be the starting quarterback. Will it happen? Who knows? There's 13 weeks. There's 12 games. What the plan is right now with him, I really don't know. They say they have a plan. We'll see how it unfolds as the season kind of plays out. The fourth quarterback thing, yeah, man. One guy is not all that healthy. The other guy can't stay healthy or hasn't shown you the ability to stay healthy through the course of a season fairly or unfairly. And then, then you got two other guys kind of vying for things. And to say that Chubba Purdy and Tate Rodemaker have come on nicely is saying it kind of nicely. They've been out there. They've been practicing. I still wouldn't feel all that good about either of them having to start a game for Florida State right now. So that's why they've gone and recruited this A.J. Duffy kid. So that's what I have to say about those topics that were kind of woven together there, Corey. Anything you want to add?
It was Entrapment. The name of the movie was Entrapment.
There it is, my man.
1999 is when it came out, so we're going to assume it was filmed in 1998.
Okay.
Catherine Zeta-Jones in 1998 was 29 years old, and our man Sean Connery was 68. Keep doing you, Hollywood. Yes, sir. To that question, man, they're gonna. I think McKenzie Milton is going to play a role for this team this year, perhaps in a very big way. I don't foresee, even if Jordan Travis gets named starter as the starting quarterback against Notre Dame, I don't think anybody listening to this expects that to be the case for 12 straight weeks. Yeah. Why would we think that? Literally, he played 5 games last year and couldn't practice. So it's hard to imagine that he's just going to buck up and roll through a season healthy enough to play every game. So, and also, if he does struggle, you've got a dude with 10,000 yards to his name behind him and 25 straight wins or whatever it is. I do think I don't know what the situation will be against Notre Dame. I don't know how much they're going to want to play both quarterbacks. I just think both of these guys will play this season and might have big moments for this team this season. Hey, and for the other two guys, look, again, the same thing with Chubba. Chubba, there have been days where Chubba's looked pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And there have been other days where yeesh, there is a big gap between the top of the depth chart and Chubba at the bottom of the depth chart. But again, it's not an excuse. It might sound like one. How much did that dude practice?
Right.
He didn't even get the spring. At least Jordan Travis got a spring this spring. Chubba was back in Arizona for most of the spring. And he practiced less than Jordan Travis did last year. So, again, when you see him going through some growing pains, which he clearly went through some stretches of practice this August, I think that's to be understood, right? That's to be expected. He doesn't have a lot of experience either.
Yeah, there's no quarterbacks that have been recruited, and then he shows up, Mike Norvell, and he instantly grabs 2 guys. And then we all know that never really works out when you bring 2 guys in the same class, so they're eventually going to peel off probably at some point. So, and then you have a guy that, again, wasn't able to go through an entire season. A guy like McKenzie Milton becomes available in the portal. You go after him, and then you're at 4 quarterbacks and That's pretty smart. Yeah, I don't think there was anything wrong with it. I don't think you think there's anything wrong with it either, Random John. That's just you being funny and wry. I didn't pick it up. Anyhow, his honest prediction time here, and it's not wins and losses, Corey, so you can breathe easy. How many sacks will the linebackers have versus Notre Dame? Random_John says 2, based on what I feel will be better coaching and a better defensive line. We love you guys. The offseason has been amazing because of you. Thank you to Luna Coffee and Zaxby's for sponsoring the show. Your products are off the charts good. Dare I say your products are as good as the team of Aslan and Corey. Happy football season, everyone. We made it. Go Noles!
That was a very nice message.
Thank you very much, Random_John.
I'll say 1.
Yeah, I'll go 1. I can see Mari coming off. I can see Mari doing something with some speed. I'd say Amari if there's going to be a guy that does it.
Okay, yeah, I think I can live with. Or maybe Lundy or Deloach or one of those guys coming up the middle.
Okay.
And my man not seeing them. Okay. Cone not seeing them until it's too late, and they're going to bring the thunder. And then our man Jermaine Johnson's going to pick it up. Or Cooper's going to pick up the loose ball and rumble 48 yards for the go-ahead touchdown.
Oh, gosh, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Coop bring one in. Fat man touchdown, nothing like it. Close to it, though, is the live edition of Wake Up Warchant, which we'll do 6 p.m. on Wednesday for you all. We'll be out there again at practice, so we'll have updates. We'll have interviews with players, and I think we're going to get Norvell on Wednesday and Thursday. Super gracious this time. That's pretty cool. But also, don't forget, Jeff Cameron's show returns after the one-day, I don't really call it a hiatus. He's still working. He's got Ira and Corey carrying the show, carrying the day. No offense, love you, Jeff, but, it's all about Corey. We all know that. So he'll be back 93.3, 1 to 3 p.m., and then live on Warchant TV, which is our YouTube channel. So check it out, hit the thumbs up, and subscribe. And then stay connected to warchant.com. Corey will be knocking out updates, posting stories. It'll be a great thing. So we will see you later on. Have a great one, everybody. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled, as always, by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.